Hi, everyone. Welcome back. This is a super special episode because our very own Justin has graduated from college. He has his master's in social work, and we're super excited. So for today, we're going to talk about the transition from intern to clinician at the same place, because I interned someplace and then worked as a clinician in a different place, but you're going from intern to clinician at the same place. So big changes. Congrats.
Thank you.
So exciting.
We all know how I do with changes. It freak me out. So
All right.
I think there was definitely some comfort in the sense that I was doing it at the same place as what I had done my internship at. I think that was huge. Because this is a pretty big transition to begin with.
Yeah.
So to be a little bit familiar with it was really helpful.
So when did you finish school? You've been done for a couple weeks, right?
Yeah, yep. So I finished classes like the very beginning of December, like December 5th. I don't technically consider being finished until December 31st.
That's how mine was too.
Yeah, so like done with classes, but then like if we go by like official pieces, it was the 31st. But I was able to start employment sooner than that because being done with classes. So I was able to kind of get in and get rolling, and for me that helped like solidify that I was done. But it was really it was challenging because I was like so ready to be done with school, but then I came and I was like, okay, like crap, now I have to like be an adult and this feels different. But with the actual like change of it, it was pretty quick, which tends to be how I do things kind of all at once.
What do you think is the biggest adjustment that you've had since finishing class?
Productivity. Like I was always in school and I always had like a deadline and something to be productive for. So it's been really weird not having that like built-in level of, okay, I know I accomplished this. I did what I had to do. And I talked about it on an episode. I think one when you were out was like feeling uncomfortable in like not being as productive because now I don't have like a marker of what productivity means for me.
Okay.
That was a change. And then also just kind of a piece of not having that to do. It took out some stress, I feel like.
Okay.
There was always I was always looking forward to that next thing to do because I feel like for the times that I've been in school, like it's been in like week chunks of, okay, this is exactly what I have to do, and it was planned. So a little bit of a lack of structure.
And we both thrive on structure, so that's hard. I remember after I finished my classes, one thing I found myself doing was I would have these like moments of panic where like everything for me was always due on Tuesdays. And so I would find like midday Tuesday for the first few weeks. I would be like, oh my God, I didn't submit my assignment at midnight. And then I'd be like, wait, I don't have an assignment. I graduated.
Mine was Thursdays, and like the Thursday, like the first one after, I was like, I didn't do anything, and then I was like, well, because I don't have to. And for me, I like struggled with the transition. It's kind of got to be black and white. So until I like completely finished and like everything is submitted, I was like, I'm not done yet. So when I was going to school before for my bachelor's degree, I was ready to be done. I submitted my final paper. I said, I don't have to look at this anymore. I didn't look at my email. I didn't look at anything. And my paper wasn't submitted in the right format.
Oh my gosh.
So because I neglected to look at anything, my professor had reached out to me and I never responded because I completed my final paper, but it wasn't technically submitted because it wasn't the right format. They couldn't open it.
My gosh.
So thank God my professor was wonderful. She called me and was like, hey, did you respond or like, did you get my emails? And I was like, no, I haven't even opened up my email. And she's like, no, we never got your final paper and grades are due tonight.
Thank goodness she did that. You know, a lot of professors would just be like, well, sucks to suck.
Exactly. Like,
see you next semester. My gosh.
So I panicked and had to go and print it out, and I slid it under her door and she had graded it for me, which was incredible. But so I had a little bit of that of like, is it officially done yet? What did I miss? Did I miss something because of that previous experience?
Wow. To me, it felt too good to be true, to be done. So until I had that diploma like in my hands, I kept thinking like the other shoe was going to drop. and they were gonna call and say like, "Hey, actually, you need this other class," or like something, because it just felt too good to finally just be done.
Yeah. I can so relate to that, and I think that's where, like, the first week when I had finished, I was like, "It's not I don't really think that it has yet," and then I was, like, a little bit emotional because for me, it came with a bit of an identity shift. I've always been a student.
Yes!
Just always either been working on, like, formal school or working on some sort of, like, credentialing in the period that I had in between, so I was always in, like, a student role, and it had just become such a part of my identity that, like, now stepping out of that student role, I'm like, "Oh, goodness, I'm an adult, now I'm responsible." My husband was like, "Well, you've been doing the adult things, like, you've been doing the things that you were supposed to do," and I'm like, "Well, now it just feels more legit."
Mhm.
But yeah, I feel like I don't wanna say, like, waited for the other shoe, but it was something that made me nervous of, like, okay, this relates to that imposter syndrome of, like, you didn't
Yes.
really do it.
Yes! Oh my gosh, yes.
So that's definitely something that definitely showed up and reared its head.
Yes. Yeah, like, for me, it was like, I knew therapists, so I'm like, "No, you definitely don't have the same level of education as that person." Like, no. I always
Mm,
thought I was way too dumb to get my master's degree, which is why I have a gap between when I got my bachelor's and my master's,
mm,
because my bachelor's was so it was difficult, and
mm.
I thought, like, if I barely got through my bachelor's, there's no way I can do my master's. So then when I finally did, I was just it didn't feel real. It was like, no, that wasn't like I expected to go and fail. So then to like get through it all, it felt really weird.
Yeah.
So how are you dealing with this? Because you are like you're doing the things. So like
I'm trying to really be mindful in the moment. I'm giving myself credit for finishing. I'm journaling. So, like,
ooh, okay.
times that I'm really struggling with it and it not being, like, real, I've been trying to journal and be in the moment and just kind of let it out to be, "Okay, I can feel this way, but it doesn't discount the progress that I've made." I tend to not give myself credit or, like, acknowledge the accomplishment, and talking about it has been really helpful, talking about it with my husband, with family, with friends,
Mhm.
um, because it is an accomplishment, but my brain wants to be like, "No, no, it's not that big of a deal, like, you just need to keep it pushing on to the next thing." So acknowledging that and kinda taking that break, and then also something that has helped, and I didn't I guess I didn't really do this, but receiving praise is really uncomfortable for me, like receiving compliments, but
Yep.
acknowledging that rather than saying, "No, it's not a big deal, I'm just saying thank you,"
Mhm.
and being okay with that.
Yes, accepting the fact that you did in fact have a great accomplishment.
Yeah. Which, like, I don't know why it has felt so uncomfortable for me. I
Mhm.
don't know. I think I don't love being in the spotlight, I guess. I'd rather boost someone else up than, like, take that acknowledgement myself.
Yeah.
I think kinda back to we talked about this on an episode before, and then you kinda just brought this up of, like, I'm now and have been working around clinicians that I have just viewed as, like, way up here, and then to,
Yes.
like, get a compliment from them, I'm like, "What do you mean? Like, I'm not not doing the same thing."
Mhm.
So, for me, it comes down to challenging that, like, not deserving or not worth it piece that has just been, like, deep rooted as a core belief, and I'm
Mhm.
challenging that, but I see in times like this, it's showing back up.
Yeah, I find myself saying like, "You don't have to say that just to make me feel better."
Yeah.
When those other clinicians that I also view them on, like, such a high pedestal, so then when they, like, give me praise, like, even though we're at the same sorta level, but it's like,
Mhm.
you don't have to say that just to make me feel better about myself, but it's, like,
Right.
accepting the fact that, like, no, you are actually a rock star.
Something else that was kind of different for me is, um, taking the time in between, like, finishing school and taking the test or the exam. I'm happy in a sense that there is, like, a waiting period because of, like, getting stuff submitted, because I was like, "Well, I'm just gonna replace everything I was doing with school, with studying, and I'm just gonna bang this out, and I'm gonna do it." Allowing me to, like, take a step back and, like, "Okay, I can study and I can do what I need to do, but let's also give myself grace and be able to study and feel prepared," because I was in my head, like, just going to rush into it because that's what I had to do.
Mhm.
So
And now you're being forced kinda to take a step back and chill for a little bit.
And I really think that's gonna help me feel more successful or more prepared. Because in my head initially, I was like, well, I'm just gonna register to take it and take it as soon as I can. But then a stress that I was putting on myself was, well, I'm not ready for it.
Mm.
So now,
Do you think you'll ever feel ready?
oh,
I was gonna say.
I think I'll feel more ready,
Okay.
but I don't think I'll ever feel like fully ready. That's just kind of the nervous or anxious nature of who I am.
No, I'm the same way because 'cause I'm getting ready to sit for my boards next year again,
Yeah.
because you have 2, and I don't think I'm just gonna have to schedule it as soon as I can and do it. Because if I wait until I feel, like, ready, I'll psych myself out.
Yeah.
That's how I was after I graduated too. I was like
Mhm.
I rushed right into it only because I was just like, can't I can't wait. I will psych myself out and just fail."
Yes.
So I am glad that you're taking time for yourself.
But and to I think kind of find that balance, it's nice that there's like that built-in waiting period because I think I would do the same thing if I and that's what I had said to everybody. I was like, I need to take the test right as I'm done because partially in my brain it was, well, I'm gonna have the time to study because I'll just replace the time that I was doing school with this. But it's also like I'm never gonna feel fully ready. So if I can be like, okay, I'll wait 6 months, not 6 months, maybe now it's more. So I did that with my KSEC exam. I scheduled it kind of as soon as I could because I knew to give myself that deadline so I could make sure I studied and make sure I did all the prep for it rather than schedule it when I was ready.
Yeah.
That definitely, yeah.
So that's a big difference between going from a student to not being a student. But more specifically, how do you feel going from being an intern at this place to now being an employee of this place? Because you were a student and now you're not. So have you noticed any differences? I'm curious because I know a lot of times during our meetings at supervision, the other clinicians and me, like we would forget that you were a student because you just didn't come across as like, I don't know how to explain it without sounding like a jerk, but like you would give such great advice and feedback that I would forget that you were a student. So I'm wondering if you've noticed any difference.
Thank you. Yes and no. I think the difference that I've noticed is a little bit more mentally because I'm like, I can't be doing this. Like with signing a note, I still haven't signed initially like the note. I was like, well, I don't think I really can, right? Like it doesn't make sense. So that shift of being able to go in and then sign the note, and that was definitely something that was different, but I was treated really well throughout the internship. Like I was never just given the work to just be an intern and that's all I could do. So I feel like I was treated really well throughout the internship. So I felt like a valued person on the team. So that being said, like that part hasn't really shifted.
I'm so glad we could make you feel that way because
Yeah.
you were and are, but while you were a student, like you were a very valued member of the team. And I know sometimes you think of internship and you're like, all right, well, fetch the coffee and here, do this busy work that really doesn't mean anything.
Yes, like the
So
busy work, that piece. And that's where in different places that I had worked or different peers that I had gone to school, like I heard like the horror stories of their internship of like they don't feel any more prepared because all they did was like fetch the coffee, do this outreach and didn't really learn the skills to be productive in what that role actually looks like. I feel like I was given the opportunity to really step into what that role was going to look like as a therapist afterwards. So I'm not really seeing a huge difference of like, okay, I was just doing these very simple things to now jumping and be like, oh my goodness, there's all these different things. Scheduling?
well, I was just gonna say that
Yeah.
you have so much more freedom with scheduling. Is it weird for
Oh,
you? It was a huge adjustment for me. Like, you are in control of your own schedule. Like, I really didn't want to work Fridays, and so I just didn't schedule people on Fridays, and it felt wrong.
I
Like,
still feel like I catch myself. I'm like, well, can I nope. There's no one that I have to ask for that to be approved to schedule this person here, or that is something that I've always worked in an employment where I've not had control over my schedule, or if I had control, it was very, very minimal control, and there were always other people involved in the scheduling piece. Where now this is something that I'm able to take ownership over, which is scary in one sense because if I mess up, it's on me.
yes. Ooh, good point. Yes.
But I can also I guess the thought that I've had to have with that now is if I mess it up, mistakes happen, but I can fix it too. There's a
Mhm.
way to be able to resolve that rather than it just being the end all be all that I messed up.
Yes. Yep. The everlasting fear of double booking.
I'm so grateful that in my schedule, it doesn't allow me to do that.
Mm.
There's like the little safety button. I was like, oh, that is so great that that exists. That was one of my fears that I didn't know it existed.
It
And
can still happen, just so you know. Not to psych you out. I've done it a couple times where like I will forget to put someone in the schedule and then schedule someone else in the same time and then forget that I already committed that time to someone else. And then yeah.
well, that makes sense. Yeah.
It happens. I love it though, because as our supervisor will tell you, it makes you human. Shocker, therapists are real humans. We are not robots.
Yeah.
So it happens every once in a great while, but
Mhm.
I love the freedom of it. It was that threw me off too. Like if I had to like reschedule for some reason, if like my son was sick and I would always text our supervisor, be like, hey, FYI, I had to take the rest of the afternoon off. So I moved everybody to Thursday instead of Wednesday or something. And I mean, you could tell she was just like, okay, cool. Like, why are you messaging me? Like, do you need anything? Is your son okay? Like, but I know she's thinking like, why are you messaging me this? Thank you so much. But I felt like I had to. I felt obligated. Like every job I've had, if you have to take time off, you have to tell a supervisor. And so that was a big adjustment was like, just scheduling how I wanted to and not having to tell every time I made a change to my schedule. I did not, in fact, have to text my boss.
That was something that I came from a really, really structured employment that I had other people involved in the schedule. I had to update people if an appointment ran late or if an appointment was
Yeah.
shorter, where I found myself like I went overtime for an appointment and I was like, that's okay. I don't have to put anywhere or let anybody know because if I go over, it comes out of my time. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
something that I'm more in control of that, which is so strange because I've not had it, but I am someone who thrives with a level of control. So I think once I get used to it, it's going to be something wonderful. But right now, it just feels so weird.
It does. It feels weird. Yeah.
Mm.
I'm more so used to it because I've been doing it for a few years, but it still feels weird. But it is just the most wonderful thing to not have to worry. And the other thing is like the weather. Like if it's a crummy day out, like we're in upstate New York, like all the schools are closed today because it's a snow day. I would just switch from in person to virtual or cancel. Like I have that like ability where if I don't want to leave my house, if I don't feel safe driving on the roads because of the conditions, I just go virtual or I cancel. And I have never had anyone ever say anything. The only time my boss has given me crap in bad weather is when I did drive to the office. So, if it was like a really bad day and I was at the office, I would get the whole like, why did you go to the office? Like, we need to take care of ourselves. And that's a really good feeling.
So, a little bit back to the scheduling piece, something that is so strange is I've always worked in person. I've never had an option to do anything virtual. And I changed one of the days because I was like, okay, I got to be in person more to be able to meet this need. So, okay, maybe I'll do like one last day here and switch it around. And I felt guilty at first because I'm like, well, it's putting someone out. And then I was like, no, I have that flexibility. If I want to work from home, I can do that. If I want to switch a day that I'm doing something, I can do that. It was so weird to not check and get approval. So
Yeah.
it made me second guess it. I was like, well, am I doing the right thing? Because I've always had that level of approval or having to get the okay for something. So that was really interesting that I could just say, okay, well, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm doing this. Monday, Thursday, I'm doing this other thing. I didn't have to like go get an approval for it.
Mm-hmm.
It just, that's what worked.
And in the back of your mind, knowing that like our supervisor always has our back is a really good feeling,
Yeah. And not feeling as though like looking at or being less than because of not showing up 15 minutes early and staying late and having to do all of the things, whether it be in person or going above and beyond out of like obligation, because that's what my worth was attached to. It makes me want to do the more out of my way thing because I know it's valued.
for
And
sure.
just showing up and doing the average thing too.
Yes. It's valued, but it's never expected,
Yeah.
you know?
Where I've worked in places that the above and beyond was the only thing that was praised.
Yep.
So feeling average felt less than.
Yeah. Yep.
which was already like we kind of talked about like a core belief that I had to begin with. So anything to like throw any layer on top of that, I would strive to do the above and beyond because that's where I felt good when I can feel good doing what's asked of me.
Yeah, I mean, I've had weeks where I did nothing above and beyond. I just did what I needed to do, and it did feel weird. I felt like I didn't do anything that week. And it's a wild thought to have to fight against.
It is also a really big shift, and this probably is more so because of like employment that I had been in the past where there were so many different responsibilities. I feel like it's
Mm,
hard to like concentrate on really showing up and doing the work, and it's no one's fault. There's just so many different obligations, so many different moving pieces. Making this transition and showing up and doing really well for the person that I'm working with in that moment feels so good. And I don't have to feel guilty afterwards that I didn't do X, Y, and Z otherwise.
going from wearing a lot of hats to just one hat is a really weird adjustment.
And I feel like I can really like master this skill rather than feeling as though I'm not doing good in 5 different areas and trying to focus on one area that I really want to work on. If I want to take on different things, I can do it at my own time, it seems like, and I can dedicate some time for each of those.
Yeah, for sure.
It's been a lot less pressure than
Good.
anticipating.
You were you were nervous.
Oh, yeah, still nervous. I think it's gonna be definitely some time for me to adjust to it and like break my brain out of that cycle of what I've just always been used to. So something for me that was really different is I've always changed employment out of obligation. Other times that I've left employment was because the job closed, like they just physically closed and no longer existed.
Okay.
COVID, lack of ability of being able to work with schedule for like requirement for school. This has been the first like really voluntary shaking up of employment that I've had. So this was really interesting that I'm choosing to like step out of stability or what I felt like stability was to kind of take a leap of faith. And my brain has wanted me to go back. Like it was the week before I was ending my last job and starting, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I just need to like retract my notice. I need to stay here. This is where it's comfortable.
I could totally sense that.
Yeah.
If you had texted me and said that, I wouldn't have even been surprised. Not in a bad way, but just because it's such a big change and it's moving out of such a big comfort zone
Mhm.
that it's so hard. I
And
know.
I had to like fight that of okay, my brain telling me this because this is what is comfortable, but I know I can't grow in my comfort zone. I need to take that step out of it.
I wanted to know, like, what helped you stick with it and take that step out of your comfort zone when you really wanted to change your mind and just stick with what you knew?
Okay. It was like I was waking up and having like a sense of like dread almost. I was waking up with like racing thoughts and even having like disrupted sleep. I think having support from both people at employment, you were a big help of through like, the internship and saying, okay, no, it's going to be okay. And like seeing that it has worked for you and worked for other people. I'm like, okay, it can't just work for everybody. It's not going to just magically not work for me in that
Mhm.
sense. Family support of being able to step outside my comfort zone to like have that confidence and continue to build that confidence. Just kind of having faith in the unknown and like thinking that okay, it's going to work, and if not, I have other options. Even
Mhm.
my supervisor at my last employment, she was incredible. She could have told me when I brought her some of my concerns, she could have been like, yeah, no, it's not going to work. It's you should probably just stay here. She was like, well, sometimes you got to take a leap of faith. And if it doesn't work, you have other options. And my brain didn't see any other options.
Hmm.
It's this or that. And if I make the jump and I fail, then I just messed everything up.
Like your whole life just went
Yep.
down the drain.
Oh, that's exactly what I thought. And goodness, I even had a conversation more recently with my husband of like, am I just messing everything up? Am I making bad decisions for us? And so having that communication piece, getting it out and like saying it out loud was something that was really helpful because
Mhm.
I can repeat those like mean, terrible things in my head. And that's something I've done a lot of work on. But saying it out loud, I was like, no, I'm not stupid. I just this is outside of my comfort zone. So hearing it out loud was really helpful too, or reading it. Like I journaled about it. I
Mhm.
was doing like brain dump journals daily or every other day of like, this is what's going through my mind, but it doesn't mean it's true.
Right. Okay.
Also to know of like being able to work through hard times, like the emotions are going to make me like when we're stepping outside of a comfort zone, our brain wants to go back to what that comfort feels like, and reminding myself and knowing that every other time I've stepped out of my comfort zone, I've also had these feelings and they weren't fact.
Mhm. Ooh, okay. But one amazing thing is there's a lot of job opportunities with this major. So if you had taken this leap of faith and for whatever reason it didn't work out, like you're not totally screwed. Like you have options. Like this is such a broad major, but once you get your license, like there's so many opportunities.
Yeah. That's something that I think is helping me, and I almost like, in a sense, didn't believe it. So a little bit of like why I think I was so nervous also was that when I had gotten credentialed in New York State, I was testing and doing all of the classes right on the cusp of when regulations changed. And then once regulations changed, a lot of my ability was different. And it was very limiting. So it was, yeah, okay, great that you have the case act, but now there's more limitations on it. You can only work in one specific setting. And I had, with that, I had gone to school and done different classes and kept on getting like a denial letter and had to resubmit stuff or had to like do one more course. So I think I was going back to that thought of like, okay, I was trying for something and then it didn't work out a few times. So
Okay, that makes sense.
knowing that, okay, once this is a, yeah, that piece of like, it's a really broad field. It's not just one thing. And if I don't like one thing, I can move to something different.
Yeah, there's a lot. Even if you just go on Indeed and you just type in LMSW, like you can work in a prison, you can work in a school, you can work in a nursing home, you can work in a hospital, you can work in a psychiatric facility. I don't even know, different places.
Also think one like last piece that helped me with this was through my internship. I really feel like I did a lot of work and like worked on the healing of my inner child. So then I felt like a passion
Mhm.
again, where I I think I had lost that a little bit in the work that I was doing before
Mhm.
because I'd been doing it for a long time, and yes, there was excitement in it, but I had only ever done that.
Mm.
I was so specific to that, and with the credentialing I had, it was limited to only doing that. So stepping into this, working with kids is something so different for me. It made me excited again because I had healed some of myself that was the part that I never wanted to work with kids. So it was always like an off limits thing. I felt like I was interested in it and it like sparked something.
Mm.
So I was like, okay, I can step outside of my comfort zone. And if I don't like it, it's at least an experience.
Yeah.
So, and like not looking at career as completely linear, being able to break out of it and say, okay, I can experience this and this can be different. I can experience something different and enjoy it.
Mhm. Ha! Nothing is ever permanent.
No. And change happens. Oh, and controlling what's in my control and letting go of the things outside.
Oh, yes. We do that in therapy.
Mhm.
We do the little circle with the what things I can control, things I cannot control.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, thank you so much for asking this and being able to help provide like that space to talk about it. And I think even a couple light bulbs went off in my head as I was talking about it out loud
Yay.
of like where I was still feeling some of those like challenges that make sense stepping outside of the comfort zone, but having support and talking through something can be so helpful.
I think the support is the big thing. And like, student, LMSW, LCSW, CEO, like it doesn't matter. We are all supportive of everyone equally in our
Mhm.
private practice. So I think that's a huge thing too. So,
Very good.
yay.
So, if anybody else had a journey of what internship looked like, I know not all of them look the same, and I'm so grateful and blessed to have the experience that I did because I know through school, hearing so many other people that had different experiences with
Mhm.
internship, I'm so grateful that mine showed up the way that it did, and it really came out of left field.
It really did. It really did. Like pure chance and coincidence.
Mm,
It's awesome. I love when stuff like that
yeah,
happens.
meant to be.
Mhm. For sure. So yeah, if anyone else wants to share their journey from student to like a real grown-up, let us know. It's a wild ride, and we will see you for our next episode.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.